Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Strategic back again. What's going on, guys? I'm just a couple minutes late. I apologize for that. Unfortunately, so I'm taking my son to the Huntington Learning Center because I think that he may be suffering from dyslexia, like his like my middle daughter. Nothing to worry about. This is something that happens all the time. With the proper help, your child will flourish. Believe me, my daughter is honor roll every single quarter simply because she's getting the help that she needs to teach her the way that her mind perceives letters and words, etc. Right? So I think my son might be having that issue. So just to get him started before he goes through all the battery of tests that's going to get him his IEP, we've been sending him to Huntington Learning Center. And unfortunately, I forgot his appointment today at 4 p.m. Mommy's calling me. Everybody's calling me like, oh my God. And I'm paying out the butt out for it. So I was really upset about that. And I called them up, but they accommodated me. They were very nice. It's not a commercial for them. I'm just giving you a peek into my personal life. And so we were able to reschedule, but I was very disappointed because they're very strict about missing days unless you're absolutely sick. But I'm happy that they accommodated me. So that being said, it popped up on my feed real quick, and I wanted to 100% give awareness to the Naziah Harris case. So we're going to be jumping into the hearing that happened today with Naziah Harris's perpetrator, man. I think it's Jarvis Butts, this terrible human being who did the worst things possible to a young woman. This is one of the more sadder cases that we've covered here on True Crime with Strategic. So we're going to jump right into this. It's around 30 minutes long. God knows how it'll be when I add my commentary, but we're here for it, right? So let's do it. Jarvis Butts, full hearing. In fact, let's back it up. Let's back it up and get him walking in. I want you to get the full breath of this.
Yes, Judge.
All right, good morning, everyone. We're calling cases 24-002-236, 24-006-232, 25-000-218, and lastly 25-000-241. These are all in the matters of People versus Jarvis Butts. I apologize, I believe I missed one. There's also file 25-004-478. Can I have appearances? Let's start with the prosecutor.
Good morning, Your Honor. Tina Ripley on behalf of the people, P83688.
And good morning, Your Honor. Matthew Makepeace also on behalf of the people, P82796.
Defense.
Good morning, Your Honor. Neighborhood Defender Service by Cheryl Quick, P83973 on behalf of Jarvis Butts, together with co-counsel Ken Riggins and Lauren Butler.
And good morning, Your Honor. Good morning to your staff. Neighborhood Defender Services by Ken Riggins, P82125 on behalf of Mr. Jarvis Butts.
Good morning, Your Honor. Lauren Butler, P88126, also Neighborhood Defender Service on behalf of Mr. Butts.
Thank you. Mr. Butts is also joining us in court. Mr. Butts, your name, please.
Jarvis Butts.
All right, thank you. You can all have a seat. All right, attorneys, thank you for your patience this morning. We did have a relatively short chambers conversation about these cases this morning. And just to briefly summarize defense, you intend to raise an issue with regard to some outstanding discovery on the case ending in 218, which has the homicide charge. Is that accurate?
That's correct, Judge.
All right. It's also my understanding that there are two motions to quash filed today. And the parties, the people submitted a written response to those motions to quash. I've had an opportunity to review them. Parties are ready to argue those motions today, correct?
We are, Your Honor.
Okay. Very good. All right. Well, let's start with the file that Mr. Butts is here to be arraigned on, that being the file ending in 4478. How does he wish to proceed for arraignment purposes?
Yeah. Mr. Butts would waive the formal reading of the information. He stands.
But you know what I don't understand, people? Like, this guy, he had his head tall when he was victimizing Naziah. And Naziah wasn't his only victim. That's just the one whose life he took. He has victimized, I think, dozens of kids in that community. Many of them will never come forward. Many of them, their parents and their guardians are complicit in it, and therefore they're afraid that they'll get taken down too. And maybe the victims are afraid that if they come forward, that their sole providers, like their mom and their aunts and their uncles, will get taken down. He held his head high when he tormented and tore through that community. But now he's in jail and he's facing the music. He can't even look at the judge. These guys are cowards through and through, ladies and gentlemen. Absolute cowards.
We ask the court to enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf.
Thank you. A plea of not guilty will be entered on his behalf. Counsel, was the examination held in that matter?
It was.
All right, we're going to get that transcript ordered. And with that, do we want to move right into the respective motions to quash, or did you want to address the discovery issue?
I think we can go ahead and do the motions, and then we can discuss the discovery at the end.
Okay, very good. All right, who's going to take the lead from the defense?
Your Honor.
Very good. Your motions.
Your Honor, thank you. So, Your Honor, I did file a motion to quash relating to case ending in 6232. For the sake of privacy, I won't mention the complaining witness's name. But, Your Honor, there was a preliminary examination held in this matter. There was one witness called. The complaining witness was the only witness called. She testified that at the time of the incident, she was 4 years old. At the time of the hearing, she was 13. So there had been a substantial passage of time. Your Honor, her testimony was she was home with Mr. Butts and Mr. Butts' girlfriend. At some point, the girlfriend left the bedroom. Mr. Butts was in the bedroom. She was on the couch. Mr. Butts summoned her to the bedroom, at which point she was ordered to take off her clothes. Mm-mm. Her testimony was she took off all her clothes except her underwear. Mm-mm. She took off her clothes. Then Mr. Butts touched her. I believe the order of touching her was he touched the top of her thigh. Then he touched under her breast. And then she said he touched her where she peed. Okay. Oh, hell no! That was the sole testimony of this witness. At the end of the proofs, prosecution moved to bind over on an original count of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree and added a count of criminal sexual conduct in the first degree because of the statement of because of the statement of the complaining witness. Your Honor, we believe that is an abuse of discretion. The only thing that we have on the record is...
I think a lot of times when we listen to this stuff, and because I do this for a living, I never get desensitized to hearing these things, because I know for a fact that these are real people. That sounds weird to you, right? Well, no, when you're listening to it from the sanctity of your couch, of your home, you know that they're real people, but you don't feel that they're real people, right? When you talk to them and you embrace them and you're in their presence, you know that they're real. And so when I listen to these charges or this description by his defense attorney of what this victim is saying about what Jarvis Butts did to her, it harkens me back to so many of the victims that I've spoken to. And it almost is like I'm there and I'm talking to that victim and she's telling me what Jarvis Butts did. She's real. This stuff was done to human beings. So when you hear this young woman describe that she was 9 and describe what he did and how she went in front of him and the girlfriend and the clothing that she took off and the places that understand that this is a real person that this happened to, and this is going to affect them for the rest of their life. And that what we see before us right now is a serial abuser. This guy may go down if people care, because a lot of times we don't care. If people care, if society cares, he'll be studied. And when the anthropologists and the criminal justice majors and the social psycho whatever criminal psychologist dudes, I just made that up, when they interview him and they break him down and they quantify and they categorize his personality, I guarantee you he will be known as one of the most dangerous and prolific PT files that ever lived. If we care, but we're not going to care. After he's found guilty, nobody's going to care about him because he's not a major news item. Nobody's going to want to reach out to him to do their doctoral thesis on him and study him and write a paper about him because guess what? It's not a big news story. They'd probably want to talk to Stephen Stearns before they speak to him, but in all honesty, he's more dangerous than Stephen Stearns. If Stephen Stearns is a demon, he's on maybe the 8th circle of hell, and this guy is Beelzebub. This guy is the Prince of Darkness. This guy is much worse. You're looking at a monster right now, and you don't even realize it. You don't even know it. It's real. Those victims are real. He is evil. Let's keep going.
She said she touched where she uses the restroom, and the only clarification we had was she said this is where she pees from, or she urines from, excuse me, those were her words. From that, we had the prosecution postulating that meant that there was some penetration, except there was no penetration mentioned. There was no.
All right. I'm going to stop at this one. I'm going to stop at a lot, but I just want to stop here just to say one thing. We got a lot of victims, survivors, and warriors that watch this channel. This is heavy. I didn't never watch this before. I didn't know it was going to be this heavy. I can handle it. Many of you can handle it. But if there's anybody who's watching this right now who can't handle this, if you feel some PTSD, if you feel like you're going back to a space that you don't want to go back to, please stop watching this show right now. I won't be mad at you. Who cares if I get the views or not? Who cares? Your mental health is more important. I'm giving you a viewer discretion as advised. And I'd hope that you can hearken to this warning if it pertains to you. Let's keep going.
Penetration discussed. We know from case law, for a CSC 1 to happen, there has to be some form of penetration, even the slightest. Case law also tells us if she testified that he were to force her underwear inside of her, that would be sufficient for penetration. Yeah, we don't have any of that. We never have conversation, or we never have any testimony about her panties being pulled aside. We never have any testimony about her panties being forced in her. We never have any testimony about anyone penetrating her. Now, that is given the fact that she was 4 years old at the time.
Oh my God, I was wrong. I
But
said
at
9.
the time
4.
of the hearing, she was 13. Surely she could testify. I believe she was asked on direct that she remembered the events, and she said she remembered the events. None of that was testified. I think to say that there was sufficient evidence on the record that says that there was a penetration for the purpose of the CS1 is an abuse of discretion, and we believe that should be dismissed.
Thank you. And counsel, your respective motions, they're similar in nature in that you're arguing the issue of whether or not there's sufficient evidence on the issue of penetration on both your motions of quash, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you want to, why don't we have him argue his, on the second matter, and then we'll hear one response from the people if you're okay with that.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so this is then with regard to the case ending in 24101, and, sorry. Okay, and this is Lauren Butler, P88126 again.
Thank you.
So first, to overview the facts from that case, I want to emphasize that this is only with regard to one of the 2 instances described. The complainant described 2 instances, but only one of them has been charged as first degree. And I am only arguing in regard to that and that particular charge. So at the preliminary exam for that instance that was described, the testimony included wearing panties. So again, that is similar. She never described those being removed. She did not describe any instances of penetration and only described light touching while wearing panties. The prosecution had the burden at the exam of
Light
establishing
touching.
evidence of every element, and that included penetration. And again, the case law is clear on this. In particular, the case I cited in my motion, People v. McNeese, while that is unpublished, it is particularly relevant because it highlights this distinction where it needs to be more than just, it uses very similar language to that use of the exam here with this emphasis on touching the vagina, rubbing the vagina. That's not enough for penetration. And there was even a specified testimony about under the underwear and over, and yet even with that fact, the court still held that this was not penetration. And that's similar to what we have here, this description of some degree of touching on that area, but that alone is not penetration. It also relies on published case law, People v. Payne, rubbing one hand, where it concludes that rubbing one hand over another vaginal area does not qualify as penetration.
Damn.
And I'd also like to address the response from the prosecution to this motion, because the argument they're making was not reflected in the preliminary exam testimony. Specifically, there was no testimony about inside the vagina. So while they're now arguing that that is possible, it's not the testimony we heard. We didn't hear this contrasting of the labia and the vagina. And this diagram that is now referenced in the motion was not used at the exam. So in conclusion, the prosecution did not meet the probable cause standard for first-degree criminal sexual conduct because there was no evidence of penetration, and bind over was not proper, specifically as to that charge.
Thank you. All right, who's going to take the lead from the people?
That's me, Judge.
All right, very good.
So I'll start with the first argument made by Mr. Riggins, the complaining witness there, reference her by initials PB. She testified specifically that he touched my private part where I use the bathroom with. When asked what comes out, she stated urine. I then asked, tell me about what part of him touches you there. She states his hand. And what does he do? What does his hand do when he touches you there? She states he rubs my private part with his hands. I then clarified, is this on the top part of that? And she interjected, said the bottom. And I said, would that be where the pee comes out? She says, I clarified, is that a yes? So in summary, she testifies she's rubbing the bottom part of her private part where the pee comes out. Your Honor, in a motion to quash, this is the highest deference to the reviewing magistrate in this case. It requires an abuse of discretion, which is most deference to the district court. Penetration requires any sort of intrusion, however slight. And we use the term genital opening rather than vagina, so that penetration of that labia majora is sufficient to establish penetration or criminal sexual conduct in the first degree. Here, the complaining witness testified that the defendant rubbed her on her bottom part where the pee comes out. When we think about basic anatomy, we know that pee or urine for women comes through the urethral opening. There's a lot of, biological anatomy down there, but we know that the urethral opening is an internal structure that's beyond both the labia majora and the labia minora. So when this complaining witness testifies that he rubbed her bottom part where the pee comes out, she's referring to an internal structure, thereby penetration. The examining magistrate also found that, in her ruling, that for a woman to urinate, it's not on the outside of her labia. That's an internal. That would be beyond that. And so she found that it was a question of fact. I don't believe that there's any abuse of discretion by that. And I believe that there's satisfactory testimony, at least to a probable cause standard, for that count. And do you want me to go on to the next one?
Please.
Okay. In the second case, extremely similar. This one is specifically, this complaining witness starts off by saying, you know how somebody would play with you in your sleep, like you would feel them in your ear, like this or something. We don't have what she was demonstrating, but she's playing with her ear. He was doing that to my vagina when I woke up, and I was crying. I stated, all right, when you wake up to feeling something? She said, yes. I asked, where do you feel something at? She says, at my vagina. And I said, what do you feel at your vagina? Should I feel like like somebody's playing with me. Like, I don't know, like somebody's trying to touch you but not wake you up while he's touching you. And I said, what part of him is touching him? Touching you? She said, he's using his hands. She later confronted the defendant about it. He's asked her why I was acting so weird towards him. She said, you don't remember what you did to me? He, the defendant, looked me dead in the face and said, I don't remember doing that, but if I did do it, then I'm sorry. Again, the reviewing standard is abuse of discretion. And here, similarly, she testified that she felt the defendant at her vagina, that she felt the defendant playing with her, using his hands at her vagina. It's more than just mere contact, mere brushing against a vagina, or just merely touching on top of it. It's an intentional act at her vagina. By stating she felt the defendant's hand at her vagina, she's testifying to penetration. She did not state that she felt his hand on or over her vagina, but rather at her vagina. Again, we look at basic anatomy, Judge. The vaginal opening is beyond beyond or inside both the labia majora and the labia minora. And so because sexual penetration is defined as the labia majora and beyond, the vaginal opening is beyond both the labia majora and minora. And so by stating that she felt the defendant's hands at her vagina playing with her, she testified to penetration. And I believe that there is satisfactory testimony on the record to satisfy that to the probable cause standard, which is, again, probable cause standard is the lowest standard, and abuse of discretion is the highest deference to the examining magistrate. And I believe that they both create questions of fact.
Thank you. Did the defense wish to respond?
Your Honor, in all seriousness, we're giving far more biology of the human anatomy than was ever put on the record at the preliminary examination. All we had at the preliminary examination they were touched at the area. We have young ladies who, although at the time this happened, may have been too young to describe the actual part. At the time of the preliminary examination, surely they could have said, he touched me on the inside. He forced my panties aside. He touched me on the inside. And in either case, was that testimony ascertained, that testimony was given, that question was asked by either people. So here, all we have is hyperbole. This is what the complaining witnesses must have meant when they said that. Yeah, and I think that is a far reach, and I think surely that is an abuse of discretion to just simply say they must have meant there was internal penetration. That is an element the prosecution has to prove in each and every case when they charge a CST in the first degree. In neither case was that proven, was that ascertained. We just have speculation, and to put those charges in front of a jury would simply be wrong, Your Honor. So we're asking you to grant both motions to quash.
All right, thank you. Do you wish to respond?
Judge, I would just reiterate what he is already saying. I think in my case in particular, there's this emphasis on the word at. There's just it's not realistic to say that that's what at means. This comparison between at and over is really not what plain meaning tells us about the word at. At is very different from inside, all of what Mr. Riggins really just emphasized. So again, I would object that this should be dismissed today.
All right, thank you. All right, well, on a motion to quash, and there's two motions to quash that have been filed by defendants. The court has to review the record for an abuse of discretion, which has already been pointed out. The abuse of discretion standard is a high burden. And defense here, through their written and oral arguments today, have challenged the sufficiency of the evidence presented on the bind-over of the respective counts of criminal sexual conduct in the first degree regarding the issue of penetration. So the court has had an opportunity to listen to the respective arguments from the attorneys here today. I've also had an opportunity to review the lower court record, and namely the transcripts. And of course, the prosecution at the preliminary examination has the burden to show competent evidence that probable cause exists on each of the elements of the charged offenses. So here, looking at pertinent portions of the transcript, and I'll start with the case where PB is the alleged complainant. There's a few pertinent portions of that examination transcript, starting on page 58. And it notes, line 20, her answer to a question, he touched my private part where I used the bathroom. Question, okay, and when you use the bathroom, what comes out? Answer, urine. Question, urine, okay, tell me about what part of him touches you there. Answer, his hand. Question on the following page, okay, and what does his hand do when he touches you there? Answer, he rubs my private part with his hands. Question, okay, was this, so when he's rubbing your private part with his hands, is this on the top part? Answer, the bottom. Question, the bottom part, okay? Answer, yes. Question, okay, and is that would be where the pee comes out? Answer, yes.
So yeah, well, I was about to interject, and I did interject. I think she's clearly describing that he is touching the area where the entrance to the vagina is. I don't think in any way that the defense is making a good argument. Well, they're making their argument. I'm not going to say they're not making a good argument. They're making their argument, and you guys know that I have respect for defense attorneys because their job is to defend indefensible people at times, and that's what keeps our system fair, right? We want a fair system, a fair constitutional system. So they're doing their job. It is what it is. It's a dirty job. It's a nasty job, but they're doing their job, you know? But I think she clearly described in the best way she could as a victim who is reliving this trauma as she's being questioned, these intimate details of what happened to her. Also with an immature, not fully formed brain. I think she's basically describing it to the best of her ability where his hand went. And I think by saying the bottom area, and maybe she'll even expand on it more, I think she did more than enough to describe that his hands touched in an area that would justify the charges that he's currently facing. But let's see if she expands even more, which would put the defense's whole position to rest. Let's go.
With regard to the file where the alleged complainant is AD, I'm directing the attorney's attention to the pertinent portion of the testimony on this issue of penetration, page 83, line 14. This would be multiple paragraphs into her respective answer, reading, and you know how you, like how somebody would play with you in your sleep, like you would feel them. And I think the pertinent part of this answer that's relevant to this determination is the next three words. And again, it's like you would feel them, quote, in your ear, like this.
In your ear. Yeah, that's excellent. Because in your ear is inside of your body. And so she's kind of describing that as for what he did to her vagina. But what I don't understand, and maybe they just could not ask this question because different places have different rules on how to interview juveniles. I just don't know why they didn't just ask her, did he put his finger inside of your vagina? Would that have been a leading question or too much of a traumatizing question? Because in all honesty, there is a lot of rules and it varies from state to state, municipality to municipality as to how you can question a juvenile. The way that we do it in New York State is bananas. Like it's amazing how we're able to even get answers because the way that they conduct their forensic interviews, they don't want to ask any questions like that. A lot of times we'll get these answers when we interview them on our own or when the district attorney interviews them because they don't care about those rules. But when, we have to use the forensic interviewers as per our policy, our department policy, and they don't ask these questions like that. They just literally beat around the bush. And, I get it. I'm forensically trained. I can do forensic interviews now. I had that training a couple of weeks back. But still, I'm like, I understand the spirit of it, but it really is not helping us get to the meat of what we need to know in order to properly charge and prosecute the case. But every municipality has a different way of doing it. Maybe they just could not outright ask the juvenile, hey, did he do this? Which I think would have pretty much given us the answer that we needed. But instead, she's a hero because she was able to explain it in her own way, like somebody's putting their fingers inside your ear. I think that definitely paints the picture that he went inside of the vagina. Let's keep going.
This or something. He was doing that to my vagina when I woke up and I was crying. Moving to the next page, page 84.
Excellent job.
Question, okay, where were you sleeping? Answer, I was sleeping in the bed with him. Question, you were sleeping in the bed with your dad? Answer, yes. Moving to page 85, line 8. Question, all right, and when you wake up, you kind of wake up to feeling something. Answer, yes. And where do you feel something at? Answer, my vagina. Question, what is it that you feel at your vagina? Answer, I feel like somebody playing with me. Like, I don't know, like somebody like trying to touch you, but trying not to wake you up while I'm touching you. Question, okay, do you know what part of him he is using to touch you? Answer, he's using his hands. So sexual penetration is defined, and that's defined under 75052-0AR, sexual intercourse, cunnilingus, fellatio, anal intercourse, or any other intrusion, however slight, of any part of a person's body or of any object into the genital or anal openings of another person's body, but emission of semen is not required. And here, based upon my review of the lower court's record and testimony utilized in making the binding over decision, I think based upon the testimony that I just read in the record verbatim, the examining judge did not use her discretion in binding over on respective counts of criminal sexual conduct in the first degree. I think there was sufficient evidence presented on each of the elements, and specifically the elements.
Judge ruled against them, guys.
To uphold the bind over, and attorneys are going to respectfully deny the motion to squash.
Yes.
All right. So attorneys, we have a couple of other issues to discuss. In defense, would you like to get into the discovery issue that was noted earlier?
I understand that. So one of the largest pieces of evidence is the CSLI that was used at the preliminary examination, which the prosecutor posits puts Mr. Butts at the scene of where certain pieces of evidence were located.
And so we're clear, counsel, you are moving into the file ending in 218, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Apologize. Thank you.
That's okay.
Back on February the
All right, before they get into this next motion that they're trying to get through, guys, please hit that like button. We're not getting a big crowd today. We got a lot of heavy hitters who are going live right now. And this is not as much as an important topic as it was before when we were dealing with all that drama, dealing with the family and all that stuff. Everything's kind of calmed down now, but I don't care. I'm still bringing awareness to this case. So every single like does count and does help our channel get into the algorithm so that some unsuspecting person who never heard of True Crime with Strategic might see it in their feed, might watch it, give us a chance, and realize we're doing something special here, which is giving a voice to the voiceless. You guys see what I do here. I don't always cover popular topics because it's not about clicks and views here. It's about doing what's right, which is to give a voice to the voiceless. And if you want to join me on this mission and you believe in this mission, just do your part. Small favor, you hit the like, you engage in the chat, and let the algorithm hopefully do the rest. Let's keep going.
Mr. Riggins reached out to the people and alerted them that our expert to review it, we needed was the Celebrate UFED, basically the underlying data that is pulled, not the report that is generated from Celebrate.
What was the date that was put on notice?
February 6th.
February 6th.
Yes.
Okay, so just about 6 months ago?
Correct.
Okay.
And then we received a response back on the 14th from the people saying that they would work on it and get back to us. We received another response on the 28th that they were looking for the files, essentially discussing that it's a huge amount of data that has to be transferred. And then we followed up, it was sometime later. And the next response I had
Thank
was
you, Aries
May
1.
28th,
Appreciate you.
that there would be follow-up with the right person at TPD. They would get back to us. So we've been in communication with the people about this for this entire time. There's no surprise that we've been asking for it. And the response has generally been either that the DPD has it and they're working on transferring it, or that it's taking a really long time to do because the data is so great. They have to basically go through 3.
She's complaining about discovery issues. Basically, she's not receiving all of the information that she's been requested, and it's not happening in a timely manner. This stuff is easily addressed stuff, but let's keep going.
Different. They would take it from a hard drive onto another thing that can be transferred, put it on ours, and then they can send it to us. And as of this morning, we still don't have it. We are less than 2 months out now from trial, and given this is a huge amount of data, we have to have our expert look at it. We are very concerned that we don't have it yet.
Understood. So we do have trial set in that file. I've got it set for October 6th, so we're just north of 2 months by my math. So Mr. Makepeace, did you wish to respond from the people's perspective? Why has this taken so long when it was put on your notice 6 months ago?
Yes, Judge. No, and I'm not disputing the dates or the emails that Ms. Quick referenced and the responses. There was a period of time where we had kind of, because it is an unusual request for the underlying file. They do, for the record, are in receipt of the cell phone forensic extraction reports that are generated, which are the files that are usually turned over. Those are UFDR files. This is the underlying file that comes with that or is generated and then put into a report. They have requested that on the dates and times. There was a period of time where I had to communicate with the OIC as well as the cell phone expert at DPD to figure out exactly what they were asking for. That did take some time, and then there was a period of time where I requested from the defense a hard drive that they provided to us for these to be uploaded onto. That hard drive, and I don't have the exact date in front of me, was turned over by Mr. Riggins to me. I transported that hard drive to the Detroit Police Department and provided that to the officer in charge of the case, as well as with the understanding that she and the cell phone expert would get together and get this uploaded. That's where I think the biggest delay comes from, is that there was a little bit of a miscommunication to them, between them, on our side of it, which is that one said it was done, one said that the other person did it, and nobody actually ended up doing it. When I went back to pick it up, it wasn't done. At that time, I brought the hard drive back to DPD and said, this needs to be done as quickly as possible. That was within the last month or so. The actual process for them to upload these or get the files onto the hard drive is to take it from a Blu-ray disc or a DVD onto a computer and then onto the hard drive itself. That does take some time, given that there are, I think, 15 or so phone dumps that they've requested these files.
Why are we burning anything onto a Blu-ray DVD? I know Detroit is a very poor area, and they have an underfunded police department. I almost got Cellbrite training, but I turned it down because I was going to PD and I didn't want to take that seat away from my former department. I'm that kind of guy. I'm a team player. So I told my old boss, I said, listen, I'm about to go to PD. I'm about to leave the job and go start a new job in PD. You know, take me off the list to go do the Cellbrite training. It'd have been nice to have that training, because then I could talk about Cellbrite extractions with authority, because I would have been a certified Cellbrite extractor. I was literally, the week before I went into the police academy was the Cellbrite training. That being said, from what I do know about Cellbrite extractions, they don't have to be extracted onto a DVD, a Blu-ray DVD. You can extract onto a USB. So why are they using this antiquated technology? Nobody uses DVDs, Blu-ray DVDs of any sort anymore. Everything is on solid state. So I don't even understand that. It's not even like that's the rules of the court, that's the type of way that they want to accept their evidence. I'm in court every other day. You know what I do when they want me to authenticate evidence? They say, you watch this video, this body-worn camera, this interrogation video, this surveillance video. When I sit down with a DA, yes, I watched it. Da-da-da-da. Okay, I'm putting it on this USB drive. Can you sign it, put your initial and the date, and authenticate it that this is the USB drive that you've observed the evidence on? That's how you authenticate evidence before you go into trial or you go into a hearing. Those are on USB drives. Those are not on DVDs. So this is crazy that we still have places in America that's using outdated technology. If you're using outdated technology, what confidence should we have in your ability to actually adjudicate these cases correctly? Now, I'm not saying that they're doing a bad job here, not at all. They're doing an excellent job, and this is a terrible case, but we really need to modernize America. I mean, we're driving on roads and bridges sometimes that are over 100 years old. That's bananas. We're still riding choo-choo trains called Amtrak when everywhere else in this world has levitating trains, you know, what do they call them? Bullet trains. Come on, like we really need to start investing in America, because you guys as the citizens really don't realize that you are not getting the best service possible. A lot of your critical infrastructure, whether it be police, fire, EMS, or even teachers in schools, are underfunded. We don't need to just refund the police like you said in the chat, JMK. I love that. We do need to refund the police. We need to refund everything. We need to literally prioritize the foundations of American citizenry: education, public safety, infrastructure. Not to turn this into a political conversation, but hearing that these people are using Blu-ray DVDs blows my mind. Let's keep going.
And the amount of information is large. As of this morning, I spoke with the cell phone expert who is in the process of doing this. He states that it will be done middle of this week, Wednesday. And at which point I will myself go to DPD, gather the hard drive, and provide it directly to Mr. Riggins or Ms. Quick or Ms. Butler.
Okay, so you believe you will have it to them by the 6th?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, which is exactly 2 months out from our trial date. All right, why don't we schedule an additional pretrial date for all files and bring it in to hash out any potential trial issues and things of that nature. Also noting the people did file a notice of other acts. Which files which files did you file that?
Judge, I filed that on all of the cases except for the newest one because that one wasn't in the system yet. So yes, there should have been 4 filed as of last week.
Okay.
And we do intend to file an objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Very good. So why don't we schedule a date to hear that? Are you anticipating filing a notice on the case Mr. Buff was arraigned on today?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Defense, how much time do you want to respond?
2 weeks.
Okay.
I apologize. Mr. Riggins is out of the office for one of those next 2 weeks. So if we get 3.
Somebody said, does he have a new case? He has multiple cases. I don't know how many off the top of my head, but he has a lot. I think like 3, between 2 and 4 cases, because new victims came out.
I'm off that day. Back the next Monday, though.
Is this something, Ms. Ripley, that you would be able to handle in Mr. McPeace's absence? If not, I can provide another date.
It is, Judge, but I'm going to be in a 2-defendant homicide trial that starts on the 2nd. And it's in Judge Cusick, so I anticipate it going on Friday.
Okay, understood. What if we come back on Friday, September 12th, mid-morning?
If we could come after my exam, that would be good for me.
The 12th is not a good day.
The 12th is not a good day.
I could do the 11th.
Strictly on the 11th?
I'm going to be in that 2-defendant homicide.
Wow.
It's the
Scheduling
15th
is
or the 16th.
tough out there.
I know that's cutting close. We're starting to cut close, but
I think we could do the
How about
15th.
Tuesday the 16th? Does that work for everyone's
That
calendars?
seems to work. Yep, that works.
All right. Okay. We'll come back Tuesday, September 16th to listen to argument on the other acts. Notice that the people have filed. Let's set that hearing at 10 a.m. All right. Were there any additional issues that needed to be talked about or addressed from the people's perspective for today?
Judge, no additional issues. As I would in any case, I would just place on the record an invitation for defense counsel to come to our office to go through both paper and digital files to make sure that there are no other surprises. Just placing it on the record, Ms. Quick, Mr. Riggins can communicate with me to set that up.
Absolutely. And as noted in chambers, when we set our October trial date, it was far off into the future. It was far off into the future with the, of course, the intent that all parties would make sure that they're doing everything possible to make sure that this.
I wonder what's going through this monster's head. He never looked up, not one time. Not one time. He never looked up. I really wish I could peek into, like, let me take that. I don't wish anything. Not at all. But, like, I'm just wondering out of curiosity, what is he thinking?
Case is that the trial ready for October the 6th. So, at this point, we've got our trial date, October 6th, and we'll see you for pre-trial date, again, Tuesday, September 6th at 10. Were there additional issues that defense needed to address for today's record?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
All right, very good. I thank you all for your time and your patience today.
Thank you, Judge.
Conclude our record.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, perfect, man. Good stuff. And he's on. He's gone.
Also today, a story that a lot of people are
He's out fast. He is out fast. Like, he wasted no time to run out of there, man. That was very interesting. It was heavy. It was much heavier than I even imagined because, of course, I just reacted to this straight out the gate. I didn't watch this prior to reacting to it with you guys, but it was definitely heavy. It's heartbreaking. That is not Naziah Harris that they were discussing today. My understanding is a number of victims have come forward, and he's now facing multiple charges in separate cases with other young people who have come forward with the abuse that they suffered from this man. Jarvis Butts truly is a serial pedophile. So we'll continue to cover everything that's coming out of the Jarvis Butts, whatever. Everything that's come out of this guy's universe, man, his dark eighth dimension that he resides in. Whatever comes out of it, we will cover it. Any of the other victims and their cases, will cover it. And of course, the Naziah Harris case, we'll cover that as well. I'm going to come back later on, and I'm going to do a video on a judge who's sentencing another serial pedophile. And the remarks that this judge is going to do, or give rather, to that man. And I don't want to throw salt in the wound, but I believe that what this judge said to this person that he's convicting, and the things he said and how he said it, is what should have happened at the Madeline Soto case. Not going to change the topic of this story and bring it to Maddie, but they're all important to me. Some people feel like you should never talk about any other victim when you're talking about a victim. I think that you're bonkers and maybe you're on the wrong show. We're going to talk about whatever we want to talk about when we want to talk about it. But just a few seconds before I leave, before I get out of here, because I want to take a walk with my kids. They want to take a walk. We're going to take a walk. Whatever we want to say about whether they should have gave him the deal or not, it's not up to us at the end of the day. We have our opinions. We're entitled to our opinion. But at the end of the day, it's up to the district attorney and it's up to the family, and they apparently made their decision. We could get past that. What I will never ever be able to get past is that judge did not say anything to Stephen Stearns. He gave him the last word and he didn't say anything. Now, he doesn't have to say anything, but if you're going to give Stephen Stearns the last word and then you hear with your ears the terrible, diabolical allocution that this guy decided to give, making it seem like he didn't do anything to Maddie and he loved Maddie more than anybody else in that courtroom, and he's sad that she's gone and he wish he could have traded places with her, the bull crap that Stephen Stearns said. I felt like the judge should have said something at that point. He should have addressed Stephen Stearns and said, yo, you a piece of ish, and I'm happy that you'll never come out of prison. But he didn't. So we're gonna come back tonight and I'm gonna play for you guys what the judge should have said. And I hope that judge watches this show, which we know that he does, and he learns a thing or two. Because as high and mighty and intelligent as you may be, you dropped the ball that day, buddy. You dropped the ball because you let a monster have the final word. We will always remember what Stephen Stearns said. We don't remember what Maddie's family said. All we remember is what Stephen Stearns said, because he had the final word. So I see you guys on the next one. Thanks for joining me today on this reaction to Jarvis Butt's hearing on one of his other victims other than Naziah. We're going to keep following this. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out the building. Consider becoming a member of True Crime Strategic. Also, we have a Patreon that you can join as well, get exclusive content. I'll see you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here. Let me get that outro queued up. Peace.
Thank you.